Hello my friends, welcome back to Player Display. As you can hear, I have my voice back, which means we can go ahead and do some reviews once again. So anyways, here we are with my custom Grim Reaper who I teased before, and I wanted to make him more NECA styled, so he's a little bit more realistic as opposed to the Miko version we looked at in the past. And it's just a really cool figure that I put together, and I kind of wanted to go over the process of how I made him, because it all kind of started with one head sculpt that informed the rest of the thing. So I just wanted to talk about how I put him together, the figures that I kind of sacrificed in order to make him, the accessories, the props, the paint job, and all of that. And yeah, we're going to keep things pretty nice and mellow, just go over how I put this figure together. So anyways, let's go ahead and talk about how this thing got started. Again, it began with a single head sculpt, and that is this really awesome skull that we have over here. Now this comes from the how would I describe it? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones in the Phantom of the Opera disguise, if you'd want to call it that. And I actually have him over here. I got him as a holiday gift because I love Phantom of the Opera, as you know, but I know absolutely nothing about TMNT. So, he's a really cool figure. We could review him in the future too, if you'd like. But really excellent figure, really cool props, and of course he came with that head sculpt over there. But I was holding that head in my hand, which is a weird sentence to say, something you can only say if you're an action figure customizer. And I was going, wouldn't it be great if they just made a Grim Reaper figure? But obviously there aren't a whole lot of offerings in the market just for Death himself, so I went ahead and I just decided, let's take that head sculpt and let's make one. So I had the head sculpt, and the next thing I needed was a base body. So, pretty much as I'm going through this, I'm not saying this is how you build the Grim Reaper, it's rather, this is how you go through the thought process of building a custom figure, if you haven't done so yourself, if you want to do something from the ground up. So, of course I got the head, I had to think about the base body. So, of course, you know the Grim Reaper, he's supposed to be skeletal, he's supposed to be bony, very disheveled and decayed looking, which is kind of the route I went with. And I had to think about a figure within the NECA banner, because of course we want the heads to be compatible and everything, so everything fits together. And the first thing that came to my mind was the Creep from Creepshow, who I've actually used in a custom before. So the original figure, I can actually show you some of the spare parts that I have. We got his head right over here. So we got him and his luscious silky silver locks. And I also have the spare robe over here. So I used him in order to make this body, and I actually even painted it up. I used a little combination of spray paint primer, and it did the rest of the paint manually, did a little bit of a black wash in there. There's a lot more paint that went into this than what's actually visible. And in fact, I've used that body before in a previous custom showcase when I built Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. So you get a clearer view of the base body over here. Just very good for a zombie, a decayed character, skeletons even, but yeah, I just figured that would be the right way to go. And all the accessories he came with fit pretty well. I mean, he also has this lantern over here, and then, I don't know, if you want your Grim Reaper to read, then you got a little Creepshow comic over here, so that's an option as well. But anyways, I found a cheap one, peeled them apart, gave them a paint job, and then that was the base figure that I had. So you probably have seen a few screenshots roll by of this figure, like mid-processes, if you will. And then the third thing I had to think about is what the robes would be made from. And I had to think about, again, another 7-inch scale figure that had robes that would work. And I really could have gone either way. There's a lot of cloaked characters. I could have even used the Casey Jones cloak, which he doesn't even really need. He looks fantastic without it, but could have used this if I wanted to, but I really did want to have the classic hood and everything. So this cloak I actually got loose, but it originally came with the Ultimate Misfits Fiend, so I used that in order to, of course, deck him out. And I didn't just throw the robes right on. It was actually a wired cloak, and there's still some wires remaining in there, but I actually removed the wire towards the base of the figure down here, towards the bottom of the robe, so you can see now it's a little more drapey. But before, it had this wire inside. I just made a little incision at the seam, and then I kind of just sifted it out. And I got a spare wire for whatever I want. And I even cut the robe straight down from the neck, so that way I could sort of fold the robe inward, and then that would allow for the excess cloth to fold away behind the figure. And in order to help with that, I used a little bit of twine, as you could see over there, and then I tied it up. And the twine, it frays a little bit, but it does look very good, so I'm just going to be very careful whenever I'm using this figure. And also you can use a little bit of Elmer's glue to sort of close up the ends, so that's something I'll probably wind up doing as well. And the last thing we have here is, of course, the scythe, which looks absolutely fantastic. This came from the NECA Ultimates Ghostface. I was about to say Scream, but that wouldn't be accurate, would it now, because of the licensing? But yeah, it came from the Ghostface, and it's just an accessory I wasn't using with my Ghostface at all, and I just knew it would be even better with the Grim Reaper, the Angel of Death. So I threw it over here to the Grim Reaper, and I even gave the scythe some chrome, and I used some liquid, like oil-based markers in order to do that. Actually, let me go ahead and grab the markers that I use so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So here are the markers that I use. They're more meant for model kits and toy cars, as you can see over here. But this is called the Zoet Liquid Chrome Shine Bright Together. Ooh, but there's a whole bunch of chrome pens out there. I've also used Mulatto in the past. But I mainly got this because I wanted to chrome up my McFarlane Batman and Robin Mr. Freeze, who is still in the works. It's taken such a long time to do. But it's the sort of thing where you want to lay it down like on one or two components of the figure at a time, let it dry for 24 hours, then go back in, add a little more, wait another 24 hours, keep doing that, rinse and repeat. But fortunately for the scythe over here, I just had to do the blade, the little hitch where it attaches to the stick, and then also these two little notches here for the two handles that are on the actual scythe. And fortunately enough, the Creep came with a gripping hand, which is very flexible and malleable, and that allows him to hold the scythe just fine right there. So that's pretty much how I built the figure, but now let's go ahead and look at the figure itself. So let me go ahead, get him vanillaed up, as I like to call it when you get him in a vanilla pose, and then we'll go ahead and talk about him. So here's a closer look at the last thing we supposedly see before we die. I guess we'll all find out eventually, but this is my interpretation. So we got the head sculpt over here, which looks absolutely fantastic. I love the paint job that it has. I added pretty much no paint at all to him, except that the wash was a little bit heavy over here on the side of the jaw, so I did a little bit of manual painting there to kind of hide that a little bit. But yeah, it's just a great skull. I mean, you got the teeth all over here, all individually outlined with a wash, a little bit more yellowed. I actually did add a little bit more black paint to the sockets because they were a little bit uneven, so I went ahead and fixed that. And I can actually go ahead and pull back the hood so we can see the full sculpt. And it's just a great looking head sculpt. And of course, one of the challenges was finding a balance in the paint on the rest of the body to sort of match it. And it doesn't match it exactly, but I mean, it's close enough. I mean, there's only a few elements of the base body that are visible in this final construction over here. And I would say this is pretty much done. There's, of course, some tweaks that I could add. Like I mentioned, I wanted to add some of that Elmer's glue to the twine to seal that up. So there's still some little modifications I could do here and there. Like another thing I did with the hood, which is worth mentioning, is there was a little bit of excess cloth where the seam was. So what I actually did is I turned it inside out. I cut away the cloth, so that way the hood lays a little bit more flat on the skull. So it doesn't have a little bit of that bulge anymore. So that helps a lot more. And obviously that head sculpt, I tested this head on the Tarman custom I did to be absolutely sure that the head would, of course, be compatible with the Creep body, and obviously it pops on just fine. There's no tack whatsoever. All the articulation is still there, and yeah, looks great. I'm really happy about it. As for the neck over here, we got this little clip. The Misfits Fiend actually had a little metal clip right here, so that's where the hood kind of connects. It can even dislodge it, then take the whole thing off if you wanted to, so he's a little modular, but because it took me so long to get him in the way that he is now, I'm kind of just going to leave him. But another thing I did, and an extra benefit to cutting the robe, aside from just hiding the excess fabric in the back, is I wanted to expose a little bit of that torso work, as you can see here, because I put a lot of effort into there. There's a lot of paint, there's a lot of washes, like spray paints and stuff like that, so I wanted to have a little bit of that exposed just to give him a little bit more. If he's all robed, then he might as well just be any other robed character. That gets a little boring, so just add a little bit of variation and continue that bone motif. I want to have that exposed, and it looks pretty cool. I like that a lot. As for over here on the arms, this little cape thing, I don't know what you'd call it, it's actually all wired. So as you can see, we can fold this up, then you see the rest of the arms right in there. So I can even fold these up, put them back a little bit, and then you can kind of get an alternate look for Death if you wanted to, with the bare arms if you wanted, but for me, I like to just kind of cup them over as you would do with the actual Fiend figure, if you so desired. And there we are. Now, as for hands, here's another thing I wanted to talk about. The hands for the Creep are extremely malleable, so I wanted to use that to my advantage. So what I actually did, before I did any painting, is I took the two open hands, and I actually put them in boiling water. Then I pre-posed them by forcing them into a certain position, and I ran them under cold water to sort of freeze them into place a little bit. So over here, we have a partial grip over here, so no longer out flat, but now he can sort of support the side when he's holding it. So we have a semi-gripping hand over here, but then over here, of course, we have a gripping hand, which is exactly as it was before, but the alternate hand that I do have is I have a pointing hand, which I managed to make. Yeah, and I really like this one too. Like, he points at you when you're about to go or something like that. I just think it's very imposing looking, so I really like that hand a lot. Unfortunately, that means you can't truly hold the side in the other hand if you want the pointing hand, because there's only one grip. So I kind of need to lean the scythe on the inside of the hand, kind of teeter it, and then have it touch the ground, and then that'll allow him to hold while pointing. So there's options, but I mean, if you have any ideas for alternate hands, let me know. I mean, that's something that could definitely be done. That's a nice thing about interchangeable hands. You can use hands from other figures if you wanted to, and again, you can use your malleability to your advantage. That's a weird word, but anyways. Then we got the twine, we got the soft goods, and you can see this is kind of where it folds over. Since I made that incision, I was just really careful to cut the cloth and also cut away some cloth. I removed some cloth completely just to shorten down the excess a little bit, but if you go ahead and peel that open, you can actually see his creepy little legs, which are really disgusting looking, but yeah, that's an option for you as well. The way I see it, this carcass makes me think maybe he was in water or something. It just seems more like a body that you'd find that's been drowned or something like that. So I imagine like a really wet and disgusting, sticky death. Kind of something. I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's kind of what I picture. And the last thing we have down here is we got the feet poking out of the robe, which I really like. Same color as the hands, the chest, and somewhat that's the skull a little bit. So we got those coming out just as an extra little detail. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Death over here. So let's go ahead and do a few little comparisons. So I'm just going to push them back. I'm not going to do a cut. We're just going to go ahead and drop everyone in. So we got our Phantom of the Opera Casey Jones over here, and I think they're about the same height, which is kind of interesting. Then we also have the only other official iteration of Death that I've ever seen, who we reviewed before, alongside a Killer Clowns from Outer Space clown. We have the Grim Reaper from Mego, right over there. He's actually about the same height, maybe a little bit taller. Then we also have Tarman, we've discussed before. Get those markers out of the way. And we also have, who we just reviewed previously, the Storm Collectible Skeleton. So I really wanted to see, beside the Grim Reaper, actually gets put Casey aside. And then we can go ahead, grab Skeleton, just vanilla posed. And yeah, I think that's a pretty good height difference. I mean, they look like they come from different worlds, but I mean, we got Death over here, so that's totally okay. And then just for kicks and giggles, we also have Mechamuck, just because we need to be a little completionist about our size comparisons. But of course, this is a showcase, so we do things a little bit differently here. But that is pretty much it for my custom Grim Reaper. Just figured that I really wanted to show off because it was such a long and interesting process putting them together took a lot of scrolling through eBay, just sourcing the parts that I needed. If you want to make one yourself, I mean, this isn't the only way to do it, of course, but if you want to go ahead and get those base figures and do it exactly as I have, that's totally an option for you. I recommend looking for the loose parts or maybe incomplete figures as opposed to getting the full figures themselves, because that can be a little costly. So I don't do customs too often, really just when I have an extra little something in the bank and I have a good idea in mind, and then when I'm ready to commit, then I can go ahead and start searching. So if you want to get the side in there, this hand's really malleable too, so it's very stretchy. You can go ahead and maybe he's gripping it there for whatever reason, but actually that doesn't look half bad. Stretch down a little bit, get his hand over here. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty creepy and diabolical looking. I like that. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this figure. Not a whole lot else to discuss. I mean, again, just wanted to show off how a custom is done. I'm pretty pleased with it. Of course, there's a whole lot else I could do. I want to fix up the twine. Maybe I'll do a little extra paintwork here and there on the ropes. Maybe give it some dirt or something like that. But I'm kind of liking him as he is. Very traditional, very classic. And, yeah, it's just nice to have the character who has the highest body count out of any character we've seen in fiction. So, yeah, except for the fact that this monster is very, very real. So, yeah, he's kind of a superhero to me. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this custom showcase. If you got any questions or suggestions, or maybe you've created your own death in the past, which is such a weird thing to say, then go ahead and let me know in the comments. Just open up a discussion in there. And yeah, this was really fun. So anyhow, if you enjoyed this little custom showcase, please, as per usual, be sure to like, comment,
ring the bell to be notified of our latest arrivals, and subscribe. This is the editor speaking, humbly reminding you to support the pod Patreon in the description to guarantee new content every single week.
Thank you guys very much for watching. Rock on, and I will see you all later.